I'm trying to hold myself back because I hate this team, but I'm sure you going first will set off my inner flame.
Yeah. Well, so let's get it started then. Episode 27.
Episode
It's kind
27.
of a sad episode 27 because I just don't know what to think of this Eagles team anymore.
Before I let you go into there, I remember when we did the podcast after the Eagles beat the Cowboys, and I thought, yeah, that game was awful, but they're in first place. They beat the Cowboys Sunday night. They're in the bye week. They're going to get healthy. I'm gonna leave them alone. I regret leaving them alone. Let's put it that way. So I'll let you go ahead. Give me your take on the Eagles game.
Yeah, I mean I you know what, I'm not surprised honestly because I think in Doug's 4 years here that I don't think he's ever had a good bye, like the week after a bye. I don't think he's ever had a good game.
Yeah,
But
he's 1-4 now.
what we talked about a couple of weeks ago when we did our questions was someone wanted to know who's the biggest issue. Is it Doug, Carson, or Howie, like for the season so far? And I still think like that was one of the worst called games of Doug's career, in my opinion. Bonehead play, like I just couldn't understand. You're down 4. If you kick the extra point, it's a field goal game. No, let's go for fucking 2 for no reason at all. I don't know if he wanted to like light a spark under their team or something. Like I don't know what he was trying to accomplish. It was a dumb idea. They had like multiple 3rd and shorts and they still threw the ball. When you have Miles Sanders is I think he's only behind Chubb for the highest average rushing yards per attempt with like 6.
Mhm.
And I'm like, he was gashing them. He was running the ball really well. And they do this. This has been the story for the last few years of him. I don't know what it is about what he likes with 3rd and shorts and passing the ball, but they do it every time. And I didn't realize this until after the game, but they didn't convert a single 3rd down.
Yep, I was going to get to that. Yep.
No
Yep.
third down.
That's awful. That's usually their bread and butter. That's usually what they rely on.
I saw since 2004. This is the
Yep.
last time they did that against
Yep.
the Steelers. Like how I don't know.
Brutal.
It's a team that I just don't see. Like I said, they seem to play to the level of their opponent. So if they go out and like play a great game against the Browns, it'll be a different story next week. But like based on what I saw on Sunday, this team shouldn't win another game. They have talent, but not in the right spots, it seems like. And I don't know. It's just a whole mess of poor coaching, poor execution, and players not playing to their potential. So,
yeah, no, I would agree with a lot you said. First couple points that that I thought of watching the game. First off, this is one of the worst games I've ever seen Doug coach. This was awful. And you brought up the fact that I feel like most of the time that we like to blame Howie and just the injuries in general, and we love to rip Wentz for all of his turnovers. And don't get me wrong, Howie and Wentz, they deserve all the criticism they ever get. But, man, this was a game that was completely coaching. This was so poorly coached. The play calling sucked. Nothing looked good. They run the ball successfully, and then they ignore it. Carson, listen, I dealt with the turnovers, and Carson was turning the ball over at a ridiculous rate. And – you didn't see it this game, but he also wasn't gambling. He wasn't making the plays that he has, like 1 or 2 plays a game that makes up for like the turnovers, like special plays that only a few limited quarterbacks can make.
mm-hmm.
And he didn't even try any of that this week.
Nope.
This was burned into his brain. I need to get the ball out of my hand, and I need to stop taking tacks and stop being careless with the ball. And he just lost all his creativity.
But then what was working? Like they were doing the up tempo, and they scored on it like twice, I think.
So yeah,
and then they get away from it. Like I don't understand.
Why did it take so long to roll Carson out of the pocket? Did we not know this? I feel like we've been talking about this for weeks. You rolled Carson out of the pocket. I didn't think they started doing it since the 3rd quarter. And that's when you start doing it, and it works. Like what? How do you?
He's one of the best quarterbacks on the move. Like I just don't understand why they don't like get him into more of those play action things. Like why do you have him just sit in the shotgun all the time?
Listen, the special plays were not there. He was being very conservative with the ball. Obviously,
I think they were forcing him to be conservative.
I think they were telling him, listen, you need to get the ball out of your hands, just throw it away. And like all the magic that he does, like he's not like a get the ball, snap, quick out of his hands, reception kind of guy. He's a let me scramble around, make some magic happen, then flip the ball down the field. And yeah, most of the time it works. Other times it's an interception, but at the same time, that's where the magic comes from. I know he turns the ball at a ridiculous rate, but you need to understand that that's how he makes his magic. That is how he's a good player, is getting in those situations, roll them out, get a little aggressive with it. I hated the play calling. I thought it was terrible. The Jalen Hurts thing is a complete waste at this point. The fact that this is the plays, now that we're 10 weeks in the season, and this is what I've seen, I'm embarrassed that we use a second round pick.
If I was
the no thinking is what drives me nuts. This is not a creative play call. What drives me crazy, I don't know if you watched that Patriots game. You see that beautiful ball Jacoby Mario threw at a high school quarterback playing wide receiver? I feel like the Patriots are more creative coming up with second passer plays, passes that don't involve the quarterback throwing the ball, but other players, than the Eagles are. And we drafted a quarterback in the second round to offer this to our playbook. It's disgusting. We're so predictable. You got some guys back, and it didn't matter. You still had the same problems. Jeffrey came back and didn't even catch a ball. Fulgham has one catch. Like, where did he go? Did we just ignore him? I just feel like they were being way too overcautious and overprotective and tried so hard not to turn the ball over that they were just eliminated all their big plays and their potential on offense.
They're literally beating themselves. Like, they're making mistakes that are costing them games every fucking week. And it's like, I don't even know, like, I don't even get enjoyment in watching the games anymore because they're so frustrating. And it's like, I can see the problems. I don't know what Doug thinks he sees. And like you said, the stupid, like, having him out there with Wentz is like, what's he going to do? It's the most
it's so predictable and it's so dumb.
It's either it's one of two things. It's an option or he's going to throw a short pass. And 9 times out of 10, it's an option, and he's going to hand it off because he's only kept it a couple times. And if he keeps it, he's going inside. And, I think the one game they were working kind of well. But, like, last game,
the first
they were
game
terrible.
When no one knew what to expect. Now everyone knows when Jalen Hurts comes in, they're running the ball.
Granted, Kelsey was having some really off snaps.
Kelsey was brutal.
I don't know what was going on.
Terrible. They came in brutal moments. Even that play where Wentz fell, that was on Kelsey. His leg came out and tripped him. Yeah. Like, come on, man. You're an all-pro center against the Giants. These aren't the defensive beaters that you should be struggling with.
What was that? Third? It was like 3rd and 3.
It was brutal. It killed you.
It takes you out of field goal range, and you have like a 4th and 8 now. It's like, okay.
Well, I've reached the point now where I'm done with the Jalen Hurts experiment. If you want to keep him as your backup quarterback, fine. But I'm done with this coming out there for 15 plays a game and you having no idea what you're doing. When you drafted him in the second round, you should have had a whole playbook installed for him, ready to go. Because this is what you took a huge gamble and leap on a second round pick on a quarterback where you have so many other holes.
I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out that the only one who picked Jalen was Howie. And
I know. I think Doug had a lot to do with that. I think Doug, being the former quarterback, loves having quarterbacks. I think Doug had a big hand in that. And that's what's even more infuriating is that Doug, I absolutely think he had a hand in picking Jalen Hurts in the second round, and he has no idea what to do with them. Like, these plays are so basic, so vanilla. These are Wildcat offense from 10 years ago that we're seeing.
Well, we used to think we used to think he was the one that was calling these exciting plays, and maybe it turns out it was Frank Reich this whole time.
He needs to stop calling plays. He's brutal. Yeah. I'm not even getting on the horrible decisions he made. You mentioned the 2-point conversion, which I don't need to get into. We all know that was a terrible call. I don't even understand the reasoning behind it. I don't care whatever analytics you're using and looking at, throw them away. That's just idiotic. Yep. What about the one where there was 3rd and 10 and they throw a deep ball and was incomplete, and then they went for it on 4th down? Like, what you need to do is you need to chunk play. If you know you're going to go for a 4th down, you need to get 5 yards, not go for the 1st down and the 3rd down, because you know you're going for it on 4th.
The only play I liked that didn't work was the out route on 4th down to Rager, because I thought it was a good ball. It was just Bradbury literally played that as perfectly as you could for a corner. But
then you can talk, like, there's only so many decent actual defenders on the Giants, and he's one of them. There's so much trash on that defense that could have gone.
I think the Giants, they're not good, but they're not a terrible team. Like, they have some decent pieces, and they play like they all fight together. They play like a team. But
you know what? The Eagles. Speaking of playing like a team, why? And is it a coincidence that Alshon Jeffrey's first week back, now we're hearing rumors being leaked to the media again? Like, why? There's so many other horrible franchises that, like, just can't help but run themselves into the ground.
You're talking about the Carson practice thing?
Yeah, like, I don't understand why the Eagles constantly have their names circulated in unconfirmed sources from the locker room. that no one wants to put their name to it, but we have these sources being leaked every other.
I was so livid with Sunday's results that I didn't really listen to his press conference this on Monday. And what I heard afterwards, though, that someone asked about that, and he's like, I don't know who would have reported that because we already have super limited press in practice because of COVID. So he's like, no, he's not sloppy in practice. Like, I don't know where you're getting your information from. Obviously, he's going to say that, but
so wait, you know where the information coming? It's coming from the locker room, just like it was.
Justine Anderson,
2 years. Like he's over here. Oh, there's no reporters at practice. I'm stunned. I don't know how the news is getting out. Jug, where have you been the last 2 years? There's been constantly rumors circulating out of this locker room, not coming from the media, coming from people in that locker room.
Yeah,
it's just.
I don't know.
I know we put.
Here's the thing, though. Like this is around the time that this team always decides to actually start playing well and win games. So.
Okay, yeah. See, I understand where you're coming because I was looking. I was like,
what happens?
What's the most disappointing loss that you can think of in the last 2 years to what we just had? Washington's up there, but really
the Bengals tie was pretty bad.
Yeah, I know, but this really comes back.
This whole season is terrible.
For how important it was, it reminded me of the Dolphins' loss last year. And remember, because that was a game, that was a season that you had wrapped up. You had a lot of bad teams in front of you. The Dolphins being one of them. All you had to do was win. You didn't have to win out. You just had to win. 4 of the 5, whatever it was, at the end of the season. You lost the Dolphins game, and then you had to win out.
Wasn't that the fake field goal or whatever?
Yeah, it was another horribly coached game by Doug. But the thing is, like, you're playing good teams now. Like, you're not playing the Redskins, the Giants, and the Cowboys the end of the season. Like, you are now going to play some good teams. And I said this a couple other times was they lost to the Redskins, they tied the Bengals, now they just lost to the Giants. But they have yet to get a win that offsets one of these brutal losses.
I mean,
they're going to have to beat the Seahawks or the Saints or the Packers or the Browns. Games I don't think they're going to win, but they're going to have to win these games because they've lost to the Giants, they tied the Bengals, and they lost to the Redskins. And if you think – and I don't know why Daniel Jones is now suddenly the second coming of Michael Vick when it comes to rushing quarterbacks when he plays the Eagles. Like, he's just running all over them.
Why don't they run him more often? He's quick.
Because they don't play the Eagles every single week. Like the same running, like that touchdown that he fell over on himself a couple weeks ago was the same exact play that they ran, and he had the big run, and it came back on.
Well, they adjusted afterwards. They started actually having someone spy on him. But
listen, if you can't stop Daniel Jones in the running game, good luck when we play Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and you just saw what they just did on the running game because they're going to run that ball down your throat, and they're not going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much more to add. I just think the end of this year will tell us a lot about this team and about Doug. And look, it's going to be an important offseason, that's for sure. And then I think, again, depending on what happens, if they somehow implode even worse, maybe Doug's job is in jeopardy. But I think next year is his make or break year.
Oh yeah, no. So, depending on how this year ends, he's entering next year. I don't expect any moves to be made. They might, the offense coordinator I've been saying for a while is something.
Schwartz needs to go.
But you cannot score 17 points on the Giants. I know the defense didn't show up and they looked awful, but you cannot score 17 points on the Giants. Like, you need to do better than that, especially when you have Goddard, Miles Sanders, and Alshon Jeffrey and Jalen Reagor all return, and you can only score 17
This
points.
is where Lurie needs to step in and say, you need to hire, or I'm going to bring in an offensive coordinator because this is too much.
This whole 6 passing, and I won't get into it too much because I've been screaming it since this offseason. They need to bring in an offensive coordinator. This whole 6 passing coordinator thing is stupid. Carson Wentz looks so confused. No one has any idea what they're doing.
Yep.
He comes out, he turns the ball over 4 times, has a bye week, and now this guy's throwing the ball away and won't even think to hold it and make a play happen. Like, your offense line's not very good. You need to roll out. You need to play this hero ball. That's what Carson's good at. And I know it comes with turnovers, but you need a coach on the turnovers. Like, you got to understand the hero ball isn't going away. If you want Carson Wentz to be successful, he's got to play hero ball. You need to work on getting guys open, schemed out better, and coach him better to not turn the ball over 100 times. Not just to get rid of the ball and be safe the entire game. Hero ball is what he's good at.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not a game manager.
It's infuriating because this Cowboys game, I was screaming about how Wentz can't hold on to the ball and has no ball security. This game, I'm losing my mind because we were so conservative and couldn't do anything on offense because we just refuse to play Wentz's strengths. Even though I understand it does cause turnovers, you need to find a way to make his strengths better and make them work with your scheme.
Yep.
I'm so disgusted with this team. It was not a good week in football, to put it this way. My picks were god-awful. I think I missed on every single one of them.
They weren't too.
The Eagles suck, and both my fantasy teams lost. This was a brutal week.
Oh, my fantasy teams kicked ass. I was one of the highest scorers in both my leagues, so I was very happy.
Good. Congratulations. Yeah, I'm very happy.
Really trying to get my
well, here. I know for a fact I'm going to get back to the Eagles later on in this episode, so why don't we move on and talk about some other games if there is that you want to get to.
I mean, yeah, the only real games that it was funny. Anytime, I think we talked about this. Anytime the Eagles lose, it really takes the wind out of the rest of the day, especially when they play at 1.
Ruins the whole week.
So, but I put on the Cardinals and Bills game, and my one friend, he was like, "Oh, why don't you hop on Call of Duty? Let's play." And I was like, "Nah, wait till after this game. I want to see this because it's a good game." He's like, "Nah, it's Arizona and Buffalo. That's not a good game." Lo and behold, that last 2 minutes was insane. Yeah. You had the Bills come back, get that beautiful pass to Diggs, diving in the end zone to take 30 seconds left?
Yeah.
And then Cardinals get the ball back. Kyler on last play, 7 seconds left, rolls out, chucks it 50 yards thinking he's Aaron Rodgers. D-Hop in triple coverage comes down with a touchdown to win the game. I couldn't believe he held on to that.
That was the most exciting answers I've seen in a while. The Diggs touchdown, like you said, is amazing play. Poor Diggs is going to get Javon cursed. Or Jermaine cursed. No one will remember. No one is going to remember his big play because a bigger play was made afterwards. No one cares about what Diggs did anymore. That game, that play, obviously everyone knows about it. That play is amazing. I don't need to speak too much on it because that play was incredible. Yes. Over 3 guys, it looked like all 3 of the Buffalo defenders went up to catch the ball. They all looked like they were in the same position as DeAndre Hopkins. You got to bat it down. That's a Pop Warner thing that everyone knows about football. You back the ball and it goes up like that.
Did you see that? Did you see that zoomed in picture of his hands catching it where they're like, this is a Jordan commercial because it's got the Jordan logo, and then Adidas and Nike are the ones I missed. But I
did want to mention one thing. Since that game, obviously, hats off to Hopkins. It was a great game, and that was a huge win by the Cardinals. The Cardinals are legit. Kyler Murray is legit too, but I'll get to him later. Now, going back to another game, can we talk about how after seeing DeAndre Hopkins just go over 3 guys and catch the game-winning touchdown, his former team that traded him away for absolutely nothing and a horrible contract in David Johnson put up 7 points. They put up 7 points and lost. Mind you, in this game too, the Browns, I don't let off the hook. You put up 10 against that horrible Texans defense. That's pretty bad. They were able to run them.
Or was it 3?
No, they put up 7.
Okay.
But man, and here's the other thing that made me think of this. Right. Since the Texans don't own their first round pick, it's the last pick they got to trade to the Dolphins for the Laramie Tunsil pick, and mind you, their second round pick as well. So this is their first and second round pick they have to trade away. Mm-hmm. Remember when the Browns had 2 top 5 picks because Deshaun Watson got hurt, and the Texans traded away their first round pick to the Browns to draft Deshaun Watson? Yeah. The Texans are very close to having 2 top 5 picks in the last 5 years, and both of them being sent to different teams. That's bad. That is, you know what that is? That is Bill O'Brien as a GM summed up in one. That's the fact you need to see. And you can't kill them because the 4th overall pick would have been nice because they got Denzel Ward and all, but you did get Sean Watson, so you can't kill him. Oh, you can kill him over the Tunsil's a good player and all, but giving up 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick and the biggest contract to an offensive lineman in the history of the NFL, if he's not single-handedly making Deshaun Watson, an all-pro quarterback and winning you a Super Bowl, that is way too much to give up.
He just got that huge contract, and Watson did, and they almost traded away his only weapon left in Will Fuller. So he's not doing well.
Joke. That team is complete. Ever since their owner died, that team has fallen off. They've gotten to they're at the Browns, Jets, Detroit Lions, just failure of an organization.
They were almost doing the opposite because they had weapons, but then they had no line. And then they're like, all right, let's bring in a line, but we're going to take away all your weapons. It's like,
see that's kind of like, why would you trade everything you had to get Tunsil and sign a ton of money and then give away your best wide receiver? where are you thinking about replacing this production that DeAndre Hopkins is giving you? You have no draft picks, and you just spent a shit ton of money on Deshaun Watson and Laramie Tunsil. Where do you think you're going to replicate this?
Now, I mean, now again, we don't really. I don't know if anyone ever figured out what was the whole thing with D Hop, whether he wasn't going to come back or not. Like, it might have just been like he was trying to get whatever he could because he was going to leave. But
listen, that trade just that we all killed the trade as soon as it happened. But if I could have showed myself, a couple months ago when the trade happened, the Texans losing 10-7 to the Browns and DeAndre Hopkins going up over 3 guys with no time left to win a game, that would sum up how bad that trade was. But those were obviously 2 games I want to get to. A couple other quick thoughts, a couple games. The Buccaneers came up and bullied on the Panthers, but again, I don't know if the Buccaneers are legit. They love to beat up a bad team.
They got spanked by the Saints, and they come around and beat a mediocre team.
They're a very, very weird team. The big game we were talking about with Tua and Herbert, Tua looked good.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers are not a good team, and you know what? I said this last week. I said I didn't want Anthony Lynn anymore. I really have no interest in Anthony Lynn. Like I saw two different teams, like
ascending and descending.
Yeah, but the Chargers have much more talent than the Dolphins. I think the Chargers are a more talented team than the Dolphins, and they just don't look nearly as competitive as the Dolphins, who are a very well-coached team. And Flores, I know we said Stefanski was our Coach of the Year candidate halfway through. Flores is right on his heels. He may even take him over. He's done a hell of a job with that team. And if I'm the Dolphins, I'm just – well, you're watching the Texans. You're about to get a top 5 overall pick, even though you might actually get to the playoffs, which is just amazing. They're a year ahead of their rebuild, which everything is going well for Miami. So that defense, that division in a whole is really on the up and up. We can even mention the Patriots, who had a huge win against the Ravens. The Ravens are looking more and more like frauds. That defense looks soft. It looked soft against the Titans in the playoffs when they lost last year. It looked soft against the Patriots because that game was just raining all night. And you thought a team like the Ravens, who love the run ball, would be perfectly suited for that. And the Patriots just did what the Ravens love to do and did it a lot better and a lot tougher. And they won the game. Also, you know what made me think? That the Patriots are incredibly good in horrible weather. Makes me think I understand why Tom Brady didn't want to play in New England anymore when he's 43. Because he's not practicing. That pouring rain they played in, they practice that every week. There's probably 2 or 3 practices every week where they have to play through some awful weather. And Belichick's so good in those snowy or rainy games because his team practices out there. He doesn't give a shit. And probably why Tom Brady likes Tampa.
Speaking of old men, Drew Brees has cracked ribs or broken ribs and a collapsed lung. So that's good.
We did say
Jameis Winston time.
Yeah, we said before the season ended or the season started that this has got to be Brees' last year. He's already got the announcer deal, and he might not even make it to the end of the year. He's really, really hurt now. He had he had the shoulder going into it. Now he took the penalty on that rough in the pass penalty, that was ridiculous. That's just a huge man tackling another man. It was gruesome, it was brutal, and don't get me wrong, but what did you want him to do? He just made a sack on a quarterback. He's just so much bigger than Brees. There was no way to land without crushing him.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, but.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add. Raiders still look like they beat up on a bad Broncos team, but I think they got some firepower. I think they'll still push for that last playoff spot in the AFC.
I like the juice for next week. The Chiefs, calling them out for taking victory laps after they beat them last time. And they're coming off a bye. Andy's nice off that bye. I expect them to come out roaring. But we'll get to that when we do our picks.
I'm not going to pick the Raiders this week, but yeah.
All right, that's what we got on the games.
Let's go into studs and duds.
What do you think? Studs, duds. What are you feeling? I'm feeling pretty
do the duds first because we talked about the Eagles. Get the duds out of the way.
We get some pretty shitty, so I want to stick with it. Alrighty. Well, so this week on duds, we actually all 3 of my duds are Super Bowl winners. They're former Super Bowl champions. All former quarterbacks, or quarterbacks at one point or another. So there's some big names, big resumes. The first one though is going to be one that we've actually seen before. So this was a guy, man. He has really, really struggled the last couple of weeks, and he he was lighting the league on fire. Everyone was talking about him. This offense in general couldn't be stopped, and they have just hit a wall. Their wall that they hit is because of my third dud right here. He has struggled so mightily turning the ball over. He's now turned the ball over 6 times in the last 2 weeks, adding 2 interceptions this week, 0 touchdowns. He only put up 248 yards, 22 of 37 passing. He was the leading rusher on his team with 60 yards on 8 carries, but no touchdowns passing and the 6 sacks he took. You can't throw 2 interceptions and take 6 sacks as a quarterback and expect to succeed. They only put up 16 points. They played a very good defense, but you expect more from 16 points from this team. So third dud of the week, it's going to a dud from last week, and that's going to be Russell Wilson. Our MVP favorite halfway through the season has just completely dropped the ball. He is killing them now.
It was only a matter of time before the poor defense caught up to them,
But you know what? That defense held the Rams to 23 points. You just expect the Seahawks to score.
Rams aren't a powerhouse. They're a do enough for offense team, but
listen, that defense performance from the Seahawks, I'd be impressed with. They slowed the Rams down to 23. If the Rams scored 23, if any team scores 23, you expect the Seahawks offense to be able to score 23 and win the game.
fair enough.
Going off that, I was very close to putting a teammate as a dud. I left him off the list, but DK Metcalf had his sit-down boy moment from Jalen Ramsey. 2 receptions for 23 yards, and he was shadowed by Ramsey all game, and Ramsey kept him quiet. And Ramsey's gunning for that title of best corner in the league, and he's coming close. Moving on. Second dud, he is also a former Super Bowl winning quarterback. This one's a recent one we actually just watched. I love him to death. I hate putting him on the duds list, but my God, this was an awful performance I saw for him. I've killed Matt Nagy for his horrible play calling. The play calling looked a little better today. The offensive line, which is pretty awful, actually looked pretty solid today. I think that's more of an indictment on how bad the Vikings pass rush is, and I think that explains some of the defensive woes the Vikings had this year because they couldn't really get much pressure anywhere. And the Bears' offensive line has looked terrible. But 15 of 26, 106 passing yards. 106 passing yards.
Lovely number.
That's brutal. That's a 4.1 yard average on reception. That is terrible. No touchdowns, interception. He looked god-awful out there. And I hate to see it, but my boy also left on a cart. You hate to see an injury comes on, but it looks like he may have broken – I didn't know what the report was, but he did land on that shoulder awkwardly, so I wouldn't be surprised if it was a second broken collarbone.
Yeah.
But, my God, I love him, and I always will. But Nick Foles, man, that was a dud, a complete dud.
I told you that the Bears were a fake contender, and no one wanted to believe me.
Listen, no, their defense is very good. Their defense impressed me.
Their defense is great, but the
defense impressed me even more today. They held Dalvin Cook pretty well. Dalvin Cook, I believe, ended with 96 yards on 30 carries. They held him very well.
Right, but we're not in the age of the
back-to-back number 1 stud the last 2 weeks.
I agree, but we're not in the age of the early 2000s defenses where you have the Ravens defense where it can carry you through the playoffs. Like you need an offense, and they weren't able to do anything.
No, listen, I agree with what you're saying. You don't need a superstar offense. We've seen defenses win that are really good, but man, their offense is just a detriment. They scored one of their touchdowns off a kick return too. Like it's not like they were doing anything. But yeah, that was a brutal performance of Foles. And then he got hurt to go along with it. Insult to injury is never nice, but man, it's tough because I think that injury might be serious, and he went off in a horrible, horrible fashion.
Yeah.
I will say this right before I get to my last stud. The Vikings, I think, just took over to where the Bears were. They're a completely flawed team. Remember, the Bears started 5-3, like you said, and you called them fraud. And the Vikings started 1-5, and now they won 3 in a row. And now they're 4-5. They're just taking the Bears' mojo away. They're both completely flawed teams, but they're just stealing each other's mojo. So, all right, moving on to my first stud. This is one we got into a little bit already, so I don't want to get too much into it. But like I said, this was by far the worst coaching performance I've seen in a while from him. The 2-point conversion is just stupid. It doesn't make sense. I don't care what analytics you want to lie to me that told you this was a good decision. That was dumb. No one that understands football would have done that. I mentioned the 4th and 10 where they didn't want to go, pick up a chunk 5 yards or whatever for to make that 4th down more manageable. The play calling was awful. The game plan coming into it was awful. The fact that you didn't want to roll Carson out till the 3rd quarter is stupid. Gave up on the run too many times. Brutal game all in all. I mean, Kelsey played awful. The defense was terrible. Run defense was awful. They had a lot of drop passes, but man, the coaching was brutal. I know the players didn't play well, but the coaching was horrible from the get-go. Jalen Hurts' experiment is a complete failure, and that's a lot on the coaching. So yeah, number one dud is by far Doug. He deserves it. This is a disgusting performance I saw from this team, and it starts with him. I want to move my attention away from Howie, when I was roasting Howie for a couple weeks in the beginning of the season, to now to Doug, because now you're healthy and you still can't win.
Yeah. Getting there. The line is still really not great. But, yeah, my only last thought on that is just we'll learn a lot this stretch of games because they play 5 straight teams that all have winning records that all will probably be in the playoffs. So
I don't think we're going to win again until we play Dallas.
That's what I'm saying. If they come out and, play the team that we thought they were against the Browns or the Seahawks or, whatever, Cardinals, then we can have a different discussion. But there's no sign of that happening. So
I want to ask you a question. I'll end this on this note.
Okay.
If the division hasn't been so god-awful like it has been the last 2 years, and the Eagles realistically are looking at, 6 wins this season, and last year if they weren't so god-awful and they had those easy victories against the Redskins and Giants that were just give me because those teams were terrible, and say they went back-to-back 6 wins, which is very possible if you don't have the garbage that is in your division bailing you out every year, does Doug lose his job after this season? I know we both said he's coming in hot, depending on how this year ends next year. But if he went back-to-back 6 wins, just assuming that the Giants, Redskins, and Cowboys weren't god-awful like they have been the last 2 years, and you've gotten those easy victories, is Doug on the hot seat this offseason?
One thing is clear in the NFL that it's hard to maintain great coaching. And you see a lot of times teams, look at the Falcons, they hold on to a coach who has good, strong ties with ownership and stuff like that. And Doug has earned this year I don't want to say a pass, but he's earned this year to be secured because of the Super Bowl, because he drug a heavily injured team 2 years in a row into the playoffs when no one expected that to happen. He has some kind of magical power that when we need to start winning games, he somehow gets the team to perform better. This year, it's going to be harder. But to answer your question, I still think he would have been more on the hot seat, but I still think he would have been fine this year.
So my last final thought on that is, you say he's got a little bit of this magic to get them to make those playoff runs the last 2 years, which they have. Is it actually magic, or is it the fact that the 3 teams in your division is god awful, and 1, they're easy victories for you, but 2, you can get in the playoffs every year that they're all terrible?
I mean,
because of course, listen, if Doug wins the division, even if it's with 6 wins, back-to-back division titles. I know your division's terrible, but your record's not good, but that's still something to be proud of and something to build on and something to keep his job. If it wasn't for this terrible division, I think the pressure on Doug will be a lot hotter than it has been.
Oh, it would. Yeah, no, I agree. I just think I'm just saying he's earned his stay because of what he's been able to do with, the issues that have arisen,
Fair enough. I just think a lot of that has to do with the
fact
that
I will say on that point, if they continue to play like this against good teams, like if they play as they did on Sunday, but somehow are still in playoff contention till the last week or 2 of the season, I don't want them to win the division. I'd rather have a better pick because there's no way in hell that they're beating any of these Super Bowl contenders. It'd be a waste of what do you accomplish when you win the division, but what is that? It's a meaningless banner. It doesn't.
I still stick behind the fact that I have more faith in them making a deep run in the playoffs, getting in with a ridiculous record and winning the division than I do hitting on a high draft pick.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I also don't see. I mean, I was happy to see Alex Smith have a really nice game for the Washington, but I mean, I can't really see the Giants going on a not whatever win streak.
Joe Judge looks good. Listen, that team fights.
Yeah, we'll see. But
yeah. Listen,
let's move on to the studs.
The teams disgust me. I'm so mad with them. This was such a bad loss.
I will say it gets easier. It gets easier to handle it. I remember when I was young. When I was younger, I used to get really upset. My whole month would be ruined if they lost.
Well, it's because they won a Super Bowl, and that does overflow. But
this is a game
that's going to get worse as the season goes on. because you're going to look in 3 weeks from now when we've lost 4 games in a row, we're going to look back and realize that Giants game is killing us.
Well,
I mean, you could say it about the Redskins, you could say about the Bengals, but this was the game where you got healthy, you came off the bye, you had some good momentum, and you needed to keep that momentum going because you're going to play tough teams now. And now we're looking at possibly losing the next 5 games, and this game is going to sting when that happens. So,
well, Sunday will be fun. It's my birthday, so I can't wait to see them lose.
happy birthday to you, right? So,
Uh,
on to the studs.
Let's go.
So, third stud, in an offense that is completely stacked, like just names on top of names, this guy just shined, and he's more of like that second fiddle kind of player. He's probably not even, well, he takes the majority of the carries, but he's probably not even the biggest name in his own backfield. His team went out, put up a ton of points. He set the franchise record for the longest run in the franchise history. Huge touchdown run. Went for 192 yards on 23 carries, was averaging 8 yards per carry. That touchdown coming off that 98-yard touchdown run. So weird player, but you know what? With all the names around him, he shined. I got to give it to him. 192 yards. Ronald Jones is my third stud of the week.
Thank you, Ronald Jones. I just made a trade in fantasy to get him, and he did wonders for my team. So thank you, Ronald Jones.
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to get. So the next one we're going to roll right into. This one will actually be a group effort because the second stud is going to have a lot to do with the first stud.
What?
And this was splitting hairs, but I knew after watching this game, both of them were going to be in the stud.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going.
First stud, or second stud, I apologize, is going to be a young quarterback that is lighting this league on fire. I talked about Russell Wilson being back-to-back dud. He is like, it's like this guy has taken the torch that Russell had in the beginning of the season and just stole it from him. And now is on his own MVP candidacy.
Yeah.
Very impressive win against a very good team that just beat Russell the week before. Put up not a huge stat line. You know, he had 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 245 through the air. He did put up 61 yards rushing on 11 carries. Did have 2 touchdowns on the ground, though. So you're looking at a 3-touchdown day in a big, big game. Obviously had the biggest play of the year so far on a beautiful ball. Considering he was on a dead sprint to the sideline and then managed to just flip his hits and just chuck it downfield like that is just incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
So my second stud is Kyler Murray. And that rolls right into my first stud.
Also on my fantasy team.
It was the man, my first stud being that man that caught that ridiculous pass that Kyler Murray threw up there. That being his 7th reception of the game, going for 127 yards on the day, 1 touchdown, being that beautiful touchdown to win the game. But when you go up and body 3 people to win the game, oh, man, you're the number 1 stud easy.
That's all it takes. I'll go out there and do it then.
I mean, listen, Tre'Davious White was in the conversation for the duds because of that play, how he let DeAndre Hopkins come down with the ball, and also for the fact that DeAndre Hopkins went for 7 receptions, 127 yards on him. And you know Tre'Davious White had a lot to do with that.
I mean, jump ball, he's a pretty tall guy. I think Poyer was there too. He's another good player.
Yeah, someone should knock that ball down. But yeah, I honestly, that play alone, it is the best play of the season so far. That was incredible. If the Cardinals, and they are, that defense is completely suspect, and I don't know if I have much faith in it. But listen, we were talking about the Seahawks Super Bowl champion or Super Bowl contender, and we ignored the fact that their defense is terrible. I think their defense might be worse than the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals have great defense, but that offense is humming. DeAndre and Kyler can match whatever the Seahawks want to put on.
Cardinals defense does enough good things, right? I mean, Patrick Peterson got burned badly on that Stephon Diggs go-ahead touchdown, but they do just enough to get by. But fun fact, actually, the Cardinals are number 1 in the South right now, the NFC South. They're ahead of the Rams and Seahawks. They're all 6-3, but Arizona beat both the Rams and the Seahawks so far. So
interesting. Well, they don't play in the NFC South, but they play in the NFC West. But I see your point.
NFC West, it's still to the south, but yes.
Interesting division because you look at Arizona and Seahawks, they're pretty much the same team. They have a mobile superstar quarterback and their offense and superstar wide receiver, and their offense wins them games where their defense is terrible. And then you have the Rams, whose offense isn't terrible, but their defense is just suffocating.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, when we did our preseason stuff, I think I had Seahawks winning, Niners in second, then Cardinals making this. I think I had the Cardinals winning the 7th seed of the playoffs, and then the Rams missing. But it looks like it's going to kind of flip.
Honestly,
I still think Seattle finds a way to win that division, and then I would say Arizona in second, then the Rams might make that 7th spot.
Well, it's going to come down to their second matchup, and I don't know off the top of my head when they play again.
This Thursday.
You're right. I didn't. Oh, wow, I didn't actually realize that. Okay, so all right. Well,
I mean, I have the schedule right in front of me.
all right. Now that we're talking about next week, let's go to the picks.
All right. So yeah. So speaking of picks, your boy over here, he eclipsed the beautiful 100 wins.
Shut up. I did not have a good. That 1 o'clock window killed me.
It was I need to stop betting. I bet on the Eagles and like 4 other teams in a parlay, and I got like Seahawks lost, the Eagles lost. I forget who else I picked. The only thing that won was the Steelers.
Yeah, I honestly think that was the only one I got right in the 1 o'clock window. It was very bad. Oh, I wanted to ask you before we get into this. We talked about how there's 6 games to the 5 on one, 6 games to the 4 o'clock window to the 5 and the 1 o'clock window. Thoughts on how you like that? Did you like the shift over?
I don't think I was able to really appreciate it because, like I said, after the Eagles loss, I really only watched the Bills and Cardinals.
Yeah.
Plus, it was weird because the Masters were on. That's why there was no – all the games were on Fox. There was no seat because I like to switch back and forth usually.
Yeah, no. The other thing I would say is all the 4 o'clock games were like 10 times better than the 1 o'clock games.
Oh, it
was garbage in 1 o'clock. But yeah, I kind of liked it. I liked it better.
It's a little more suspenseful.
I mean, it's sad because then I mentioned this. The Eagles have complete control over my emotions. So I hated the 4 o'clock games because the Eagles lost and ruined my day. Yeah. So I couldn't enjoy them that much. But if the Eagles won, then I would have been thrilled because then I would have so much good football to watch and just enjoy for the rest of the night. But that didn't happen. So now here we are Monday night still suffering. So
right.
On to the picks. On to the next week because I hate this past week.
So yeah, our guest picker, Nick, he went 7-7. You also went 7-7 this past week. And I went 9-5.
I hate you.
So I'm sitting at a beautiful 106 wins to 42 losses. You're at 90 wins, 58. So you got a little catch up to do.
All right. Well, it looks like I'm going for the century mark this week. I need a big week.
You're gonna win 10. You're gonna get 10 games correctly picked.
We'll see.
Okay. So like I said, the first game we have Thursday night football. That'll be a fun game. Arizona at Seattle. The first time they played was arguably the game of the year. So.
Oh yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah. The Cardinals are excited. Listen, I told you the Seahawks are must-see TV, but the Cardinals are getting to that level too. Limited defense and just awesome offense. But going with that, I think the Cardinals are going to be living. I don't like when you win a big game like the Cardinals did and then have to play on Thursday night because I think the emotions from the last game still linger over and it's hard to get mind right. Where the Seahawks are in the opposite angle of this. They've lost 2 in a row. They need a get-right game. They need a big answer, and they're going to get one on Thursday night. I think the Seahawks come out and play. I think they show up. They're the veteran team. I expect a big game for Russ. I expect a lot of points, but I'm taking the Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't see Russell Wilson losing 3 straight games. And like you said, it's hard to either ride. You can ride that high, but it's hard to maintain it. So I'm going to take Seattle here too. Okay. Next we have Cincinnati at Washington. What a doozy.
Oh God, no! I watched that god awful Alex Smith performance. I know they did come back at the end, but the Lions aren't a good team. They shouldn't have had to come back. I'm going with the who did you say it was Washington? Oh, Cincinnati. I'm sorry. Yeah, Cincinnati. I'll take Cincinnati. I was very disappointed with the Washington team.
Yeah. I'll take the Bengals too. Joe Burrow. I didn't realize he had the same amount of touchdowns as Wentz did. I thought he would have had more. 12. Both have 12. Next we have the Falcons at the Saints. It's going to be one of those trap games, especially with no Drew Brees.
It'll be interesting because Jameis will be out there, but at the same time, the Falcons love to lose. Michael Thomas will be out there. Alvin Kamara will be out there. They'll be fine, so I'm going with the Saints.
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything Winston's good at, it's just chucking it deep. So instead of a slant, send Thomas on a post, and they'll be fine.
He knows the Falcons very well too.
I'll take the Saints. Then we have Pittsburgh at Jacksonville. You know, the Jags gave the Packers a show. They almost beat them.
They did.
So give them some props, but they're not going to beat Pittsburgh. They're going to move to 10-0. I'll take the Steelers. Oh boy, he's thinking.
I am thinking. You know what? The Steelers are not going undefeated. They are going to lose at some point. And they don't look like a 10-0 team to me. Like, I just watched them. They just don't look like this unstoppable juggernaut. The Packers are a decent team. We've said this before that you can pass on the Steelers. I think the Packers can win a tough game. I think this is a big game for them. I'll pull the Packers.
Packers weren't even an option. It was Pittsburgh or Jacksonville.
Pittsburgh. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I got my because I was looking at something. You were talking about the Jaguars versus Packers. Yeah, no, I'll take Pittsburgh.
Oh, I was like,
I didn't think the Green Bay Packers were playing the Steelers. That was my bad. I got
I don't
mixed
know what
up.
kind of
You were talking to them both, so I got them mixed up.
kind of jungle juice you sipping on over there.
Yeah, you caught me off guard. I'm still writhing in pain and anger over the Eagles' loss. My mind's not thinking right.
Then we have New England at Houston. Yeah, I didn't get to catch much of that the Patriots game, but I think Cam's been playing fine. He had like one or two games that weren't that great, but he's fine. I think Houston's a weird team. I don't know what to do with them, so I'll take New England here.
Yeah, Damian Harris looked great. I mean, the best ball that was thrown by the Patriots was by Jacoby Myers, so that's always a good recipe for success. So yeah, I'm taking the Patriots. Also, thank you for letting me break down the Packers and Steelers game and not call me out that I was wrong. And
I was just
let me go with it.
Was it a Super Bowl prediction? I don't know.
Yeah. I'll take the Pats. Go ahead. I'm not betting on anything to do with Bill O'Brien.
Another great game, 1 p.m. Philadelphia Eagles at the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, if you can't stop Daniel Jones on the ground, we're gonna get steamrolled. I'm taking the Browns.
Oh, as soon as that game was over, I looked over and I saw I saw the Chubb play where he stepped out of bounds to like kind of end the game or whatever. And I was like, wow, Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are just going to have a field day.
Who's tackling? We don't have any linebackers to actually tackle any of them, so we're going to get eaten alive. They're going to just run the ball, and they're going to run the ball, and they're never going to give us the ball back.
Baker's going to have a stat line of 10 for 17, and Chubb and Hunt are going to combine for 260 yards.
Yeah. I fully, after seeing that horrible defensive performance, I expect Kareem Hunt and Chubb to go over 200 yards combined.
So, yeah, I'm taking the Browns. Detroit at Carolina. I think the Panthers rebound. Like I said, they're not a bad team, but they're still like figuring out their pieces, new coach. I'll take Panthers.
Listen, McCaffrey not playing again. He's already been ruled out. I think that's going to play an effect. The Lions are surprisingly like
they're competitive.
Team. Yeah, so I'll take the Lions. I'll spice it up.
Spice it up. All right. Next, we have the Titans at Baltimore. This is an interesting one.
AFC Championship rematch. Or no, I'm sorry, divisional round rematch. You know what? The Ravens got run all over by Damian Harris. Good luck against Derrick Henry. I'll take the Titans.
They need to win. I think they have to win this game. The Ravens. I know the Titans need the. I think are they on a 2-game losing streak now? Tennessee.
Well, yeah, they lost that tough game on Thursday. I think.
Because they lost the Steelers and then.
Listen, I think the Titans need this game more than anything.
I know, but Lamar needs to beat. He needs one of these like good teams to beat to get that train going again. I'll take the Ravens.
Fair enough.
Next we have the Jets. I forgot they were playing at the Chargers. I'm gonna take Justin Herbert and the Chargers.
I'm not taking the Jets.
The next game is the Dolphins at the Broncos. Another game where it's like Broncos just aren't really that good right now, so I'll take the Dolphins.
Yeah, Drew Lock looks pretty brutal.
I don't know if it's still his injury. Like, he just doesn't look right at all.
Yeah, they don't look good as an offense.
Which is sad.
There's there's plenty of weapons there. I mean, the offense line's not great, but he should be doing better than he is. So, yeah, no, I'm not taking Drew Lock.
Another team I forgot was playing. Cowboys at the Vikings, who we saw beat the Bears. I don't even know who's playing quarterback for Dallas anymore, so I'm going to take Minnesota.
I think Dalton's pricing this week, but yeah, I think Minnesota keeps their mojo going. Kirk Cousins got his first win in his career on Monday Night Football. And you watching that game, he was celebrating everything. Like, he clearly knew that this was his first win, so good for him. So the Cowboys suck. I'll take the Vikings.
Yeah. Next game is Green Bay at the Colts. So Colts are that weird team that they play well. Defense is good. They beat the Titans last week. And Green Bay is also a weird team. Like they're not really – they were destroying people in the beginning of the year, and now they've calmed down a lot. But I still think they're one of the favorites. Anytime Aaron Rodgers is playing this well, they'll be considered. So I'm taking Packers.
I'll take the Packers as well. What's been killing me the last couple of weeks. I've been trying to get cute with some of the games to pick against you so I can catch up, but I'm not doing it this day. I just think the Packers are a better team. I think Phil Rivers sucks, so I'm not going to go against
that. Then the next game, Sunday night game, Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. The last time these teams played, I picked the Raiders in the upset, and they won. However, I don't see that happening, especially off an Andy Reid bye. I will take the Chiefs.
Yeah, Andy Reid bye, and hearing the story about how they took a victory lap after they beat the Chiefs last time, I think the Chiefs run it up on the Raiders. I think it's going to get ugly.
Yeah. And then the last game we have is Rams at the Bucks. This is a very important game for both these teams because that's a great defense, really good defense the Rams have. So if Tom and that offense can't do nothing against them like they couldn't do against the Saints, that'll tell us a lot. I feel like the Bucks defense is too aggressive for Goff to keep that team going throughout the whole game. I don't know. I'll take the Bucks here. It'll be a good game though.
I'll take the Rams. I think that I think the Rams are going to get a lot of pressure on Brady. And that's the key to slowing down Brady. You got to get in his face, especially interior pressure. He does not like interior pressure. And having a guy named Aaron Donald, that's just his name, Aaron Donald, just equals interior pressure. Like you look it up, it's the same exact thing.
I mean, it's always a telltale of wins and losses, the turnover ratio. But I think this game will come down to which quarterback makes the fewest mistakes. So
yeah, we'll see. Usually how most games are decided, but
yeah. All right, that wraps up for our picks. We usually do our power rankings first, but we can just jump to that now. So this week, for our heading into Week 11, our power rankings switched around a lot. We have a couple teams re-entering, or entering for the first time. So number 10, we have the Raiders staying pat. Number 9, we have the Rams making their way back into the top 10 after that impressive win, holding the Seahawks to, 16 points?
Yeah. 17.
Number 8, first-time appearance for the Miami Dolphins. Like we said, they have a really strong defense. Tua's playing really well. He's 3-0. They're, like we said, he was in our consideration for Coach of the Year. Then we went Stefanski, but yeah, they're way ahead of their reach.
Yeah, that defense looks really good. And hey, the Texans look awful. So look, they're just smiling, realizing they're fighting for a division, and they're also looking pretty good for a top 5 pick.
Yeah. Number 7, we got the Bucks. Like we said, they're a hard team to understand. They really beat down on the not so great defenses, and then they disappear against the better teams. But keep them at 7. Then we have the Bills at 6. At 5, we have the Cardinals. So the Cardinals jump up quite a bit after that big win against them.
They deserve it.
Well deserved. Yep. Packers at 4. Then we have the Saints moving into 3. This one was kind of tricky. Because Breeze is out now, I don't know what kind of Jameis Winston we're going to see. We'll see either the 30 touchdown one or the 30 interception one. But yeah, I think they deserve to be at 3 right now. They're rebounding pretty well from their slow start. Number 2 is the 9-0 Steelers, and then number 1 is the Chiefs, who only loss was to the Raiders. So I still think they're the team to be, even on a bye.
Yeah,
they're still the best team.
So.
Any final thoughts?
Nope, that's good for me. I'll leave it at that, but I'll probably text you more on some basketball news as I dive into it. So
sounds good.
All right, I'll talk to you.
All right, man. Peace out.
Peace.